So what we're doing here is a Buddhist ritual. And it's a Buddhist ritual, a special one for Sangha Day, which is our festival today. So I'm going to say something to introduce all of that and tell you what's going to be happening. And then we'll start. We'll be starting with bowing to the shrine, as you usually do at the beginning of a Buddhist ritual. But we'll do that after I've explained it a little bit first, okay? So first of all, welcome everybody. It's really fantastic to see people. I'm not sure why there's so much space here. So if you feel a bit crowded, there is some more space in the middle, which you're very welcome to come and use. But we may get one or two latecomers coming to join that, I don't know. My name is Ratnaprabha. I'm the chair here at the North London Buddhist Centre. Sangha Day is the festival we're celebrating today. So it's one of the three main precious things in Buddhism is Sangha. The Buddha is precious in Buddhism. The Buddha means the person who founded Buddhism, but also the potential for enlightenment that everybody has. The Dharma is very precious in Buddhism. That means the path that is available to everybody who wants to follow it for a short distance, for a long distance, or going all the way for enlightenment. And that's the Dharma, the path. And then finally, of equal importance is the Sangha, the community. And that's what we've been celebrating today. And it's as if, how do you celebrate community? By coming together and by being aware of each other. That's how you celebrate community. And that's what we're doing now. So do be aware of each other. And we have come together, which is fantastic. And as part of our celebration today, we'll be having this Buddhist ritual, the sevenfold puja, a traditional ritual that originated in ancient India and it still is very popular in Tibet. And as part of that sevenfold puja, we'll be having 4 Mitra ceremonies. So 4 people have decided that they feel now is a time for them to make a deeper commitment to practicing Buddhism within the context of our community. And so they're going to become Mitras, which means friends. And I will say more about that before the ceremonies. I also will ask those people to give me their offerings when I've just finished this introduction. So don't let me forget to do that. So I've got them handy then, otherwise I'll get confused. So the sevenfold puja, I'll just say a few words about that. There's a lot one could say. It's very beautiful. It's basically, it's a poem, but it's a poem that we recite together. And in that poem, which we'll recite in call and response, so I'll say a line, then you repeat the line, if you wish to. And what the poem is doing, it's trying to evoke what's known as the Bodhi heart, the awakening mind or the awakening heart. That's what it's designed to do. And the awakening heart is the heart or the mind that wishes to achieve liberation from all the constraints of ordinary human existence, which means the constraints of the defiling emotions and so on, but to do that for everybody's sake, not just so that one can escape from the humdrum life of the city and all the pressures of the city and be somebody living your life sort of away from things in the cave. It's to do with doing it so that you can be involved in helping people, in making a difference in whatever way you can. And everybody has their own ways of being able to make a difference in the world, making the world a better place just by being friendly to your next door neighbor and the person in the shop, or by campaigning for peace, or whatever it is that you do, or by medicine, by education, by creativity and science, whatever it is, by art, by making pictures. There are so many ways in which we can make the world a richer and a better place. And so this ceremony is designed to awaken the heart that really cares about that as the number one priority, the Bodhi heart, the awakening heart. And some of it may be obvious as to how it's doing that. Others of it may be just weird. You may think, what's going on here? Because this is a poem written in the year 800 or 900 by an ancient Indian poet called Shantideva. And of course, he lived in very different times. The way he puts things is very different. But in brief, it goes through a series of 7 devotional moods. And these are opening up to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. You remember the Buddha, the ideal of enlightenment, the path to enlightenment, and the community, opening up to those ideals, but opening them up to as realities in life, the reality of open, potential, loving existence in all sorts of ways, as symbolized by all the Buddhas and all the Bodhisattvas, not as an abstract thing, but people, real human beings who've gained enlightenment, and mythical figures who represent aspects of enlightenment. So the first stage is a worship stage that says, I'd love to make offerings to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Then the second stage is a salutation stage, where I would love to bow before all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and open myself up to the influence of the higher forces in the universe. And then the third one is a going for refuge stage, which says, I would now like to commit myself to following this path by going for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And then the fourth one is a confession stage, which is saying, there are all sorts of things that are holding me back, and I would just like to reveal those things to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and say, they're getting in my way, I just like them to stop. I'd like to stop doing that, whatever it is, anything unskillful, anything harmful, anything harsh, I would like to let go of it. And you do this by the confession process. And then the next stage is the other side of that coin, which is the rejoicing stage, where you say, isn't it wonderful, all these good qualities that people have, all these wonderful things that people have done in the world through the ages and are doing now. And you rejoice in the merit and the qualities of what people have achieved and what people have. And then we have the entreaty and supplication stage. And this is saying, I would like to be receptive to all those wonderful forces in the universe, to all the teachings of the teachers and what they have to offer. And then after that stage, we have the final stage, which is the transference of merit and self-surrender, which is where you say, okay, I've done this lovely ceremony. It's really beautiful. I feel really good, maybe. But any merit, any benefit that's come to me from that, I want to just give it away. I want everybody else to have that benefit. I want to share it with everybody. And I just want to dedicate myself to, as I say, the Bodhi heart, the awakening of the Bodhi heart. So those are the 7 moods. And in between, interpolating in those moods, well, after the first one, there's a chance. You remember the first one is the one where you make offerings. So there is a chance, if you want to come forward, light a candle and put it in the bowl there. Or you can use some of these priceless gems and offer them to the shrine, if you wish to do that. And when you do come forward to do that, come forward in groups of 4 or so, because there are a lot of us here. And if you do it just one at a time, it could take a long time. And if you do want to do that, don't feel there's a right way, a wrong way. If you want to, you can come and bow. If you want to, you can light your candle and put it there and do another bow. Or you don't bow at all, just light the candle. Whatever you like is absolutely fine. And if you don't want to do it, that is also fine. It's not there's any expectation for people to make offerings or even to join in. You can just be a spectator. You can just listen and just see what you think about it and let me know afterwards what you think of the whole thing. So don't feel there's no pressure. It's not like in some religions where you've got to get everything just right and it's all a bit tight. You just do whatever you like. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. And if you need to leave early, leave early. If you need to nip out to the loo, nip out to the loo. Just don't play loud music in here. But apart from that, you can do whatever you like. So that's the first interpolation thing is making offerings. And that'll happen after the Mitra ceremonies. The next as part of that, there'll be a mantra going. So we'll have the mantra of the Bodhisattva of compassion. So when you hear that mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, which Maitrisambhava will start, just think of it evoking compassion, invoking that is caring about other people's suffering and wanting to do something about it. And then we'll go through, and then after the going for refuge stage, or is it before, we'll have the... it's after, isn't it? After going for refuge stage, we'll recite the refuges and precepts in both Pali and English. So listen to those, they're very interesting. How do you lead a good life? And then we'll go through, and after the entreaty and supplication stage, Anna will do a reading. And I'll say something about that reading before we have it. And it's a reading about a great Tibetan teacher known as Dado Rinpoche. Then, after the final stage, Lalita Raja will lead the Padmasambhava mantra. And Padmasambhava, who's the figure on the back wall there, is the great tantric guru of Tibet. And then we'll have the concluding mantras. Mantras are these beautiful symbolic sentences, strings of sounds which evoke different qualities of enlightenment. And we'll also, if we have time, after the reading, we'll recite the Heart Sutra. Those of you who know the Heart Sutra, and if you don't know it, just listen, it's very beautiful. So concluding mantras will finish, then we'll just sit briefly in silence, and then we'll leave. And if anybody doesn't have to rush off and can help us clear up, that would be really helpful. So I hope that gives you an idea of what we're doing today, and I really hope you enjoy it very much. The Mitra ceremonies will happen after the first stage of the puja. So could I ask those who are becoming Mitras to give me their flower, candle and incense, and I'll tell you what order I want them in. So this is the order we're going to have people becoming Mitras in. First of all, Sally. And I'll try and remember, get these right. So if you could give me those. This isn't the ceremony, by the way, so you don't need to cheer at this stage. That's fantastic. Incense. And then secondly, Ben. Fantastic. Very good. Wonderful. And then thirdly, Magda. Lovely. Good. And then finally, Debbie. Oh, just give me one. You choose whichever one you really like. You can always give them the rest of them to the shrine afterwards if you want. Yes. And the candle, that's the, sorry, was there a candle as well?
Yes.
Oh yes, big one. Oh yeah, fantastic. Oh, excellent. So when the Mitra ceremonies are complete, and they'll happen in silence, and what they'll involve is each person in turn, in the order I've mentioned, all they need to do is come up to me, and I will give them one by one, first of all, the flower, and they can offer the flower. They can either place it on the shrine or place it in a vase, whatever they like. And then the candle, they light the candle and place it in the special candle bowl. And then they light their incense and place that in there. Usually there's somebody who's a bit allergic to incense. Is there anyone who'd like people to put the incense out when they? Yes, there's a couple of people. Okay, so if you could light the incense, wave around the smoke a bit, and then put it upside down into the bowl so that the smoke is extinguished. And then, so that'll be each person coming up in turn. First of all, I'll say your names, don't worry if you don't remember. So first of all, Sally will come up and I'll give them those things in turn, and you can make a little bow if you want to, whatever you like, and then return to your seat. And then Ben will come up, same thing, then Magda, and then Debbie. And when everybody's come up, then we do a special Buddhist cheer. Now the special Buddhist cheer is a word sadhu, which means right on, sort of. And we say it 3 times, and we say it as loud as we can. So be ready for that. I hope you brought your earplugs, because there's a lot of people here. So that'll be when those ceremonies are complete. Those 4 people will now be Mitras. They'll now have made that commitment to following the Dharma in this context. And as I say, before the ceremonies, I'll say a little bit more about what that means. So I think that's enough chatter, isn't it? Is it enough chatter? And is there anything I've not mentioned that anyone can think of?
Well, the Mitras to be also going to be introduced.
They're going to be introduced, yes. When does that happen?
Before the actual ceremonies.
But before the puja or before the ceremonies?
So we start the puja and then...
Okay, so that'll happen first, yeah. So I'll make sure we do that. So each of them has somebody who's going to just say a few words about them. And this little pile of cushions here is for that person, so that the people online can see you. If you're introducing one of the new Mitras, and try and keep it fairly brief. Come up there and say your piece, and again, we'll do it in the same order I just mentioned, and I'll again mention the names, and then you can be seen and heard by the people online. Anything else I've missed off?
Yes, welcome to people who are new to the centre.
Welcome to people who are new to the centre. You're very welcome to be here, and it's lovely to see you here.
Especially any friends and family of people becoming Mitras.
Especially any friends or family. It's really good I've got a prompter here, isn't it? Otherwise I'd forget all my lines. Yes.
Can we take photographs?
You can don't take flash photographs just because it interferes with things a bit. But you're welcome to take photographs, and if anyone wants to photograph the shrine afterwards, do so. But I will just say that what I'd like you to do is, sometimes people have cards or little presents for the people who've become Mitras. Now, this probably won't work, but I'm just going to ask you to just gently put them down next to the Mitra, but let those new Mitras just sit quietly at the end of the puja, and then we all leave them sitting there. So any hugs and celebrations, if those could happen downstairs, okay, I don't know if this is going to work, but that's what I'm requesting. So yeah, it's just a quiet leaving, and you can give them the cards downstairs as well if you'd rather do that, if you have a card. But you see what I mean? So we leave. So if you are a Mitra, then don't get involved in conversations and things at the end. Sit quietly. Buddhism is very meditative, so it's nice to do that, and then wait for everyone else to go, and then you can come down and be hit with a wave of love and all that sort of stuff. Good. Anything else? Any other promptings I need? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is stand up and salute the shrine. And with everything else, if you don't want to join in, that's absolutely fine. In call and response. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Namah.
Namo
So let's just sit quietly for a couple of minutes and arrive, and then we'll start the sevenfold puja. the sevenfold puja. Firstly, worship. With Mandarava, blue lotus, and jasmine.
With Mandarava, blue lotus, and jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
Festooned with golden lotus.
On the paving, sprinkled with perfume.
On the paving, sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
So we're going to be introduced in a minute to the four people becoming Mitras. I won't say very much about what that means, but the word Mitra means a friend in Sanskrit. It's a traditional Buddhist term. And one of the great Buddhist virtues is known as Kalyana Mitrata. Kalyana Mitrata means beautiful friendship, or friendship that conduces to being in really good states of mind. And so friendship is central to Buddhism. And so a Mitra is somebody who's a friend to themselves. They're a friend to each other and to other people in the Sangha. They're a friend to their practice, to the Dharma, to the path. And they're also trying to be a friend to the world. That's what the world needs, more people who are willing to be friends to it, I think. And so they're making this little commitment to say, okay, I've decided that for the moment at least, Buddhism is the path I want to follow. I feel I'm a Buddhist. It's a funny thing that, isn't it? Labels are a bit funny and some people like them more than others. But what they mean is that they feel that they've responded to the teachings of Buddhism and they feel they are genuinely relevant and they're things they would like to put into practice in their lives to make their lives different and to commit to that. And in committing to that, they'll be trying to practice the 5 precepts that we'll be reciting in a minute. They'll probably be trying to develop a meditation practice. And they'll also be making a connection with everybody at this center, and in particular wanting to help those who are ordained, order members like myself, wanting to be helpful to the activities at this center in various ways and be involved with those activities. So that's a really fantastic thing to be wanting to do. So that's I hope that accords roughly with what you've decided. You can always change your mind. You don't have to come forward if that's not what you signed up for. But it's a lovely thing to do, to make that formal connection. That's what creates Sangha, us connecting with each other at all levels. The level of the commitment of ordination, the level of the sort of provisional commitment of being a Mitra, and just the level of just coming along and saying hello and absorbing whatever you like at the center. And I hope the center is very open and welcoming to everybody in that way. So that's what they'll be doing. And I would like somebody, I don't know who these people are going to be, somebody just to say a few words about Sally. So who is it who's talking about Ray? So Darshavani will be coming forward, if you could come there so that you can be seen.
Okay, well, I'm delighted to be introducing Sally today. And I thought I would just start by reading out a few lines that Sally wrote for her own introduction to herself that went into the newsletter. So she wrote, daughter, sister, mum, wife, friend, Buddhist, Mitra in training. I also trained and work as a biodynamic craniosacral therapist. I currently volunteer at the North London Buddhist Centre, where I've found a love for community and a connection to others. I'd like to become a Mitra because I enjoy learning, not only about myself, but also about others, and I want to be challenged. I want to have an open heart, and part of that is having a spiritual practice. It's important to me to be able to connect with people on a deep and meaningful level. I believe in and want to promote loving kindness for all. So I thought that was really lovely and really individual as well, something very individual about it. So I just thought I would sort of echo and draw out a few of those things that Sally said about herself, because they're certainly my experience with Sally as well. So it really struck me how Sally described herself in terms of her web of relationships and how important that is. So relationality as being very important. And my what I know of Sally is that she looks out for and looks after a lot of people. And it is my sense of her, of you, that you've got a kind, big heart, and that you're a very, very warm and steady person, and that you're that for a lot of people. So I've also certainly experienced Sally as being really community-minded. So from very early on, I think I've seen Sally here at the centre volunteering, helping out on reception, helping with classes, and she's a generous, reliable and invaluable person to have around. Just a really steady, generous presence. So Sally said it matters to her to connect on a deep and meaningful level. So it's not just about kind of, superficial connection and being around lots of people. And I think this really shows, that's my sense of Sally, is that she wants meaningful connection, and she wants depth of connection. And she's also really friendly and approachable. And then in this thing Sally said about wanting to learn and be challenged, and also describing herself as a Mitra in training, a friend in training, a friend to the Dharma in training. So I just loved the aspiration for growth that it is expressed through that. Like there's a real aspiration to grow and to go beyond herself. So another thing that stands out for me with Sally is I think she's got a lot of creativity. There's something creative, quirky and individual about her. So I think she's her own person. And I also wanted to quote something that our friend Livia said to me about Sally. She said, "There's something very unique and true individual about Sally. She's definitely someone walking her own path, but this is coupled with a genuine openness to new ideas." So yeah, I thought that was lovely. And then the last thing is, so Sally trained as a biodynamic craniosacral therapist, and and I think there's something a little bit mysterious about Sally, and Livia and I chatted about this briefly, and Livia said there's something of the medicine woman about Sally. So there's something, there's healing is important to her, and there's a quality there that it's almost a little bit like shamanic. So sadhu, Sally.
Thank you very much, Dashavyi. And next, Ben. And that's going to be Anand Devandra will be introducing Ben. Ben is sitting over by the window in a beard.
With not in the beard, yeah. So I brought a timepiece so that I don't talk about Ben's qualities for too long. So yeah, it's It's a privilege to be introducing Ben today. So I first met Ben in a way which is not uncommon these days, in a little box on my iPad on a Zoom call, and we're doing a men's meditation morning. And I think I'm right in saying that Ben's been there for everyone that I've done, that Arijit and I've done since then. So just in that, you see a quality of Ben's that actually you see across his life, and that is that he's consistent. He's a consistent man, and he's capable of committing. And I think the reason that that is possible is because Ben has values. And I think he's always had a sense of value, a sense of vision. Actually, he's always been kind of seeking something, looking for something. First, it was possibly the church, and then it really wasn't. Actually, he connected with Buddhism in his teens, made a strong connection, particularly with the precept of non-violence, which goes into his. He's taken that forward for the last 30 years in his practice of veganism, but basically didn't quite know, couldn't quite find the context for his spiritual life, but it's been there all the way through. So this kind of seeking, exploring nature took him as far as Japan, the Outer Hebrides, New York City, and even somewhere like Newcastle upon Tyne. But yeah, these days Ben has put down his roots. He's a father of 3 now, not quite so young children, the oldest of which has just gone off to university. So as well as these qualities of consistency and being able to commit, you look at Ben's life, and basically he's a very capable man. So yeah, he's passionate about the arts and their place in culture. And after studying journalism, being a film archivist, the early untimely death of his mother, and a difficult period in New York City, he returned to London. He worked for the Institute of Contemporary Arts. He established an East Asian Film Festival in London. He took on the directorship of a failing arts centre in London. And most notably, he set up an arts charity, which 20 years later he's still running. So it's been very successful, with a sort of separate wing of it in Scotland that was set up about 10 years ago. Which supports and promotes artists working with the moving image. Yes, as well as these qualities that I've mentioned, Ben is also a very generous man. So alongside bringing up 3 kids and running his own arts charity, he also finds time to be on the board for several other arts charities and mentors young people, I believe, in the arts. So he's very generous with his time and his skills. And I thought I would read what he writes of his motivation, because you might see some connections with Sangha. So Ben writes, "I've always been motivated by a strong sense of public service, supporting culture as a space to foster empathy and freedom of expression, and by supporting artists to realise their creative vision." So I think you can see there the parallels with what we're doing here. So I think, I'm confident that Ben is going to be a real asset to the Sangha, and make a real contribution to what we're doing here. As Ratnaprabha has mentioned, Mitra means friend, and I've seen Ben already making actual friendships in the Sangha, and I've also witnessed for myself Ben's qualities. Namely his emotional positivity, his openness, his sensitivity, and he's got a very appreciative nature. So you just spend time with him and you really see this, his appreciative nature coming through. So all of these qualities really demonstrate his ability to make friends actually, and to be a friend. So I'm delighted, Ben, that you're becoming a Mitra, and wish you much joy and fulfillment.
Thank you, Anand Devendra. So next is Magda. I'm going to introduce Magda. The reason I'm introducing Magda is because I feel I know her very well through us being on the team together for the Saturday morning class, which is a real delight, and she's an excellent presence on that team. So thank you very much for that, Magda. And Magda lives locally and has done for some time, and is a mother. And I think 2 children are here. So welcome to that. And Magda is here in the front row. She's got one of the most expensive seats. So I'm just going to say a little bit about her connection to Buddhism and the Sangha. So if you remember the mellow, dark evenings of last autumn, last year, Magda at last found a way to get through the door of the Buddhist center, the daunting door. And she'd often come past it, but then felt, well, it's a Buddhist center. That means it's a place for Buddhists. I'm not a Buddhist, so I can't go there, can I? And I think that's very interesting, isn't it? That thing that to make sure that somehow we say we're for everybody. The welcome in the Buddhist center is not just for people who are Buddhists. It's for anybody who wants to learn meditation, who wants to benefit from Buddhist teachings. And I think it's also interesting, Magda was saying that because she's an immigrant, that probably happens quite often, that you wonder, would I be welcome there? I don't know. I don't know the culture well enough to know if I'd be welcome in this particular place. Am I, even more than that, am I allowed here? So I think that also makes me think of the importance of not just the Buddhist center making people feel welcome, but of all of us making everybody we meet feel welcome, wherever they come from. But she signed up for a Tuesday course. She thought, okay, I can at least sign up for a course that'll allow me through the door. And that introduced her to the center. And she was taught by the very kind and very gentle, as she put it, Satyanartin. And he taught her the Metta Bhavana, the loving kindness meditation. And it had a huge effect on her. And as I talked to Magda, the word kindness kept coming up as something both very important to her and something I'm glad to say she has on the whole experienced here at the center. So her daily meditation practice is mindfulness, but when she's in a group, she loves to do the Metta Bhavana meditation, the loving kindness. And the feeling, she said, when Satyanartin included the whole room full of people together at the last stage of that Metta Bhavana, she said, was really magical, really wonderful. And she still keeps in touch with some of those people. And she said that she felt that she'd always known deep down the truths of Buddhism and wanted to become a Mitra. But at that time, the purity that she'd experienced in the center felt solid when she discovered that the founder of the movement, Sangharakshita, had committed misconduct. So she waited until that she felt that those sort of issues were resolved for her. And then she decided, yes, now I feel ready. I can become a Mitra. And it's Sangha that keeps her involved here. And it's the people here that she's learnt to trust. She's learnt that we can trust each other. Yeah, and that's why she wants to keep in connection here and to become a Mitra. So Magda. And then lastly, Debbie, and I think that's Gukisaki, is going to introduce Debbie.
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be introducing Debbie, who's sitting over there with the green top. So I gradually got to know Debbie over quite considerable time, mostly because you were online initially, isn't it? So during lockdown, for various reasons, Debbie decided to make a commitment to something a bit deeper in her life, which wasn't the first time. In fact, she'd had this kind of like connection with Buddhism since primary. And you think, she went to a Christian school, but if you are in education, you know that you learn comparative religion. And one of the key things that I think really attracted Debbie was one of the Buddhist concepts of rebecoming, reincarnation. And so although that sort of, happened so long ago when she was young, but so long ago, but I mean, when she was younger, she grew up, had her career, and it was also, she's one of the key qualities. So initially I used to see Debbie online, and I thought, well, I should be quiet. She'd come, I was just seeing her meditating. She's like, just that, and actually, when you see someone meditating, I think, you just see them meditating, and it's just like one side of a holistic person. And the bit that I began to discover about Debbie as I got to know her was this incredible enthusiasm and energy and care and concern and adventurousness, which you don't really get a glimpse of when people are just sitting and meditating. It's sort of really still. And I think it's finding that balance as well from this incredible energy and again care. So Debbie worked a bit as a journalist. I mean, I do have notes. I should be looking at them. I'm just remembering them, but I could look at them. She was a travel journalist, and at one time she was trekking in the Himalayas. This is pre the children. You probably know the story. That your parents went climbing up, aiming for base camp, but then mum got a bit ill, which was quite seriously ill, I imagine, being there, and she had to come down. But what happened was, and this is, I think, quality of Debbie, that things can seem really hard and challenging, but she sees the goodness in it. She sees the positive aspect of it. And when I first heard her starting to tell the story, I was thinking, oh, what a shame. She went all that way. She wanted to go to base camp. And then she was, no, but she met, and the story is actually about one of her meeting amazing Buddhist Sherpas and forming connections and friendships that ended up with one of them coming all the way to the UK. And in fact, climbed Ben Nevis in 20 minutes.
Yeah, he came over for a travel show and we took him up there and he literally...
He just climbed so
amazing.
Yeah, phenomenal. So
it's all to show.
Yeah, so that's something about Debbie I really find is like there's tons of interesting stories coming out, but one of the key ones was also just during lockdown realizing there was so much going on, needing to slow down, coming online and just having that and I thought the qualities I really see in Debbie is there's a kind of resolution and dedication, and then she just kind of like anchors on it and goes for it. And so although it was only last year, I cannot believe it was only last year she made this commitment, but then from there she's come, as soon as it was in person, Debbie started appearing. And then we started a Mitra study course, and then Debbie joined and moved forward. So yes, I just feel, I had to think, maybe these things take some time, but I think there's something in there that Debbie really connects with, that inspires her. And I think so. Again, I'll come back to those words of adventurousness, courage, and being prepared to transform, to face the sort of the difficulties, the challenges of that, being asked to transform and change that Buddhism does bring, being courageous to face them and kind of just really go for it, but not in any kind of hard way, because the last but not least is this deep compassion and kindness that comes through, because she works now as not just becoming a teacher, but then moved into a passion about children who are struggling, special educational needs, and really, and that can be quite hard work and quite difficult, but that caring and compassion and resolve is what it takes sometimes to support our vulnerable children and families. So that comes through. So I just say sadhu. I feel really happy about Debbie coming and expressing her going for refuge to the three jewels in joining the Sangha as a Mitra. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kikisaki. And thank you, everybody. So now we're going to have the ceremonies themselves, which involve each Mitra in turn coming up and making the three traditional offerings. The offerings are a candle, which symbolizes the light of awareness, a flower, which symbolizes the unfolding of human potential, and also the impermanence, that everything beautiful will fade, which we must remember, and also the incense, which symbolizes the fragrance of living a good life, which spreads in all directions. And so while those offerings are being made, I'm going to request mindfulness, attentiveness, so that very quietly you can be attentive to what's happening. And the attentiveness, the mindfulness, the awareness that you bring, when it's directed at people, these four people, it is love. Love is awareness of others. So we're going to be mindful, but we're also going to be loving. Good. So first of all, I would like to ask Sally to come forward, and I'll give her each offering in turn, and you can offer it in any way you want. Now Ben. Now Magda. Now, Debbie. So Debbie and Magda and Ben and Sally are now Mitras. And you remember the word for right on?
Sadhu! Sadhu! Sadhu!
Thank you very much. So Mantra Sambhava will now start the Avalokiteshvara mantra. And during that mantra, if you want to, you can come and offer jewels or candles. Make sure that you don't put candles directly on the cloth. And come forward in groups of 4.
Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme
Salutation. As many atoms as there are.
As many atoms as there are.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To the Sadharma.
To the Sadharma.
And to the excellent community.
And to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
Going for refuge. This very day.
This very day.
I go for my refuge.
I go for my refuge.
To the powerful protectors.
To the powerful protectors.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas.
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas.
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Panatipata.
Panatipata.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikkhapadang
Sikkhapadang
Samadhiyami Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Kamesu Michachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Suramerya Vajja Hamadatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Sadhu With deeds of loving kindness I purify my body. With open-handed generosity I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment I purify my body. With truthful communication I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant I purify my mind. Confession of faults. The evil that I have heaped up through my ignorance and foolishness, evil in the world of everyday experience, as well as evil in understanding and intelligence, all that I acknowledge to the protectors, standing before them with hands raised in reverence, and terrified of suffering, I pay salutations again and again. May the leaders receive this kindly. Just as it is with its many faults. What is not good, O protectors? I shall not do again. Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight in the good done by all beings, through which they obtain rest, with the end of suffering. May those who have suffered be happy. I rejoice in the release of beings from the sufferings of the rounds of existence. I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva and the Buddha, who are protectors. I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment and the teaching, those oceans that bring happiness to all beings, and are the abode of welfare of all beings. Entreaty and supplication. saluting them with folded hands.
Saluting them with folded hands.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence.
With hands folded in reverence.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages.
May they remain here for endless ages.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
So Anna's going to read.
I'm going to come and sit over there because there's more light, yes? And everyone can see me.
And Anna's reading is going to be the typical day of Dado Rinpoche. Now, the reason I thought this might be a nice reading for us is, first of all, Dado Rinpoche is regarded as a great bodhisattva who'd only died in the 90s. And that's what the puja is about, becoming somebody like that. Also because he is the teacher of Sangha, one of the teachers of Sangha who founded this movement. So there's a sense of lineage, of reaching back into that lineage of teachings, going back into the mists of time. And just because it gives you an idea of the dedication of somebody whose whole life is committed to both to practice, but also to engaging with his own community and the welfare of children.
Dado Rinpoche's daily program ran as follows. He regularly rose between 4 and 4:30 a.m. He washed and dressed whilst visualizing himself in the form of a deep blue, bull-headed figure called Vajrabhairava, or Diamond Terror, the wrathful form of Manjushri. At the same time, he recited prayers of purification and repeated mantras. He continued to do this while cleaning his teeth, which consequently took between 40 and 50 minutes. He then ate a light breakfast and sat for a period of formal meditation. This started with a systematic reflection on his purpose. Only when he was fully satisfied that he was not seeking blessings or personal merit would he proceed to the full practice. He then visualized Tsongkhapa, the 14th century founder of his monastic sect, with his 2 main disciples, and recited a prayer on the 3 principles of the path. Here he symbolically established all beings in a state of purity by visualizing himself surrounded by an infinite host of beings and imagining them bathed in light which poured from his heart. Next, in what he called the main meditation of the morning, Rinpoche visualized 2 main bodhisattvas in female form, White Tara, who is immaculate and radiant, seated in meditation posture, and Green Tara, who has 1 foot stepping forward, stepping down into the world. Rinpoche concluded his period of meditation by reciting all the mantras for which he might be called upon to give initiation. He also found half an hour every morning to do some gardening among the rows of potted plants on his rooftop. This was how he spent the first 6 hours of every day. Rinpoche regarded these hours of spiritual practice as the indispensable basis for the cultivation of the insight and compassion from which everything else in his life derived. After this time belonged to the school, and though he did not teach, he did whatever administrative work was required to ensure that everything was running smoothly. Every evening he joined the children in the classroom and listened while they chanted a traditional text lasting nearly half an hour. If a new child was having difficulties, Rinpoche would sit by them and help them with the Tibetan script. The children told me that they loved this time with Rinpoche when Rinpoche was with them. After a light evening meal, he performed the Tsongkhapa ritual again, then 2 more elaborate meditation practices. He usually finished between 11 and 11:30 p.m. But if school duties had been particularly time-consuming, he might not finish before 1 a.m. Nevertheless, Rinpoche considered it important to maintain his practice without missing a single day. Thank you.
The final section, the transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained in my acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. My personality throughout my existences. My possessions. And my merit in all 3 ways. I give up without regard to myself. For the benefit of all beings. Just as the earth and other elements are serviceable in many ways to the infinite number of beings inhabiting limitless space. So may I become that which maintains all beings, situated throughout space, so long as all have not attained to peace.
Om Ahom Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hom. 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 Om Ahom Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hom.
Om Ahum Vajraguru Padmasri Om. 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 Om Ahum Vajraguru Padmasri Om.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
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 Om Marapajanadhi.
Om Marapajanadhi.
Om Marapajanadhi.
Om Marapajanadhi.
Om Marapajanadhi.
Om Marapajanadhi.
Om Vajrapani Hum.
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 Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha.
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 Om Amideva Hri.
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 Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha.
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 Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni
Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hong.
Om Ahum 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 Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hong.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhiswaha.
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 Om Shanti